The news from Guyana, the region and the world. Compiled in the News Talk Radio newsroom and powered by DemeraraWaves.com.
With the news at this time, I am Deanna Jordan. A very good day to you. First, the lead stories. Guyanese will soon get a $2,000 bill to spend. In the face of a call by the United States, the government has sought to assure Guyanese that it does not condone corruption. A New York-based Guyanese man has been charged with corporate fraud. A man has been arrested in connection with 5 kilograms of marijuana at a police roadblock. And in regional news, Scotiabank in Trinidad and Tobago will be laying off more than 100 workers. And for the international news, we'll bring to you the latest bulletin from the BBC World Service. The details of these and other stories will be coming up right here in just a moment.
News Talk Radio Guyana is the station for you, bringing you news updates every hour, major news 3 times a day, edutainment on a higher level, shows like Beat the Clock, Brunch on the Coast, The Afternoon Jam, Youth's Perspective. It's a station that goes wherever you go, streaming online at www.bit.ly/newstalk1031. It's News Talk Radio Guyana, 103.1 FM.
And now the news in detail. Guyanese will soon have a $2,000 bill to spend. Governor of the Bank of Guyana, Dr. Gobind Ganga, confirmed that the new note will be in circulation in another few weeks. He says the $2,000 note will depict the One Guyana Unity theme and is part of plans to commemorate Guyana's 55th independence anniversary. The central bank governor says that he had already hinted some months ago that the new bill will be produced. He says the new note will have to be published in the official gazette and a copy will be formally presented to President Irfan Ali before it goes into full circulation. The government has sought to assure Guyanese that it is doing everything to fight corruption. The Irfan Ali-led administration used the opportunity of the 2022 national budget to make its position known on this issue.
The anti-corruption framework of Guyana is based on commitments to our treaty obligations made to the Inter-American Convention Against Corruption and the UN Convention Against Corruption. Our challenges are, of course, like many other small developing countries. They are related to factors of human, financial, and technical resources. For this reason, our capacity building will be prioritized to strengthen the implementation of our anti-corruption program and policies.
Back in December, to mark International Anti-Corruption Day, the United States had called on the Guyana government to take a strong anti-corruption stance. The United States had hoped that this would have shown Guyanese and the rest of the world that the government is committed to transparent institutions that utilize the country's resources to the long-term benefit for all Guyanese. Guyana has recorded 14 new coronavirus cases. With this latest count, the number of active cases is now 11,991. Of the 173 persons who are hospitalized, 17 of them are in the intensive care unit. Those ordered to isolate themselves at home now total 11,818. The Ministry of Health also says that the death toll has increased to 1,156, with the passing of 2 more persons. They were both from Region 4, Demerara Mahaica, and according to the Ministry of Health, they were not vaccinated. Hundreds of teachers and thousands of students in primary and secondary schools are to get ICT gadgets to assist with the delivery of education. Finance Minister Dr. Ashni Singh, in making the announcement in the 2022 national budget, noted that the COVID-19 pandemic has pushed Guyana to fast-track the digitizing of education delivery.
In response, sir, we will be equipping 300 primary school teachers and 125 secondary school teachers with laptops and computing devices. Approximately 11,000 tablets and flash drives loaded with teaching materials will be provided to students at these levels, while the number of smart classrooms, we recall those smart classrooms, the number of smart classrooms will be expanded. This initiative, sir, is budgeted at a total cost of $295.7 million.
He added that for the first time, over 260 schools will be monitored using the Education Management Information System. He says this will allow expanded monitoring and supervision of performance. A New York man has been sentenced to 18 months in prison for his role in an illegal pump-and-dump stock manipulation scheme. U.S. Attorney Charles Kovats made the announcement after senior U.S. District Judge David Doughty sentenced the defendant. According to court documents, Christopher James Rajkaran, 36, of Queens, New York, and Guyana, participated in a scheme to hijack and assume control over dormant public shell companies. Rajkaran and his co-defendants used their control over the companies to fraudulently manipulate and pump up the price of the company's stock so they could profit from the sale of stock at inflated prices to unwitting investors. According to court documents, Rajkaran and his co-defendants carried out the scheme by obtaining hundreds of thousands or even millions of shares of stock in dormant public shell companies. They then traded over the counter at low prices, often for less than a fraction of a penny per share. Rajkaran and his co-defendants then assumed control over the shell companies by creating and filing fake resignation letters and board resolutions. In these, they purportedly announced the resignation of the existing management team and the appointment of one or more conspirators as new officers and directors of the companies. Rajkaran and his co-defendants used their control over the hijacked shell companies to issue fraudulent press releases and filings designed to fraudulently pump up the price of the hijacked company's stock. Rajkaran and his co-defendants then dumped their stock by selling at the fraudulently inflated prices to reap the fraudulently obtained profits. On October 7, 2021, Rajkaran pleaded guilty to one count of conspiracy to commit securities fraud. 2 other persons have already pleaded guilty. This case is the result of an investigation conducted by the U.S. Postal Inspection Service and the FBI. A man has been arrested after he admitted ownership of a suitcase containing 5 kilograms of marijuana. The bust was made at a police roadblock at Weldad West Coast Barbase. Police say they stopped a minibus at a roadblock and the driver pointed out the owner of the suitcase. Investigators say the passenger admitted ownership of the 2 bulky parcels of leaves, seeds, and stems. He was arrested, taken to the Weldad police station, and the marijuana was weighed. There were 12 other passengers in the minibus. A woman was yesterday afternoon stabbed to death by her ex-partner at her mother's home in Seafield Sapphire, Greater Georgetown. Dead is 28-year-old Loretta Simon of Cooper Street, Alboystone, Georgetown. The woman was stabbed at about 1 p.m. Police say that the woman allegedly met her demise at the hands of her ex-partner, who went to her mother's residence. There, according to police, he demanded a reason from Cooper about why she no longer wanted to be with him. Eyewitnesses told police that the woman asked the suspect to leave her mother's premises, and he suddenly whipped out a knife from his pants waist and stabbed the victim in the region of her heart. Cooper then ran a short distance before she collapsed. He then dropped the knife in the yard and made good his escape. A 19-year-old man who was allegedly stabbed by his stepfather has died. He has been identified as Isaiah Edwards of East La Penitence squatting area, Georgetown. Police say that he was stabbed to his right hip by his stepfather at about 6:30 Wednesday evening. Edwards died at the COVID hospital Liliendahl on Thursday. Investigators say that Edwards intervened when his stepfather began abusing his mother, who had not finished cooking. The suspect reportedly became angry and picked up a knife and attacked the two. The teen and his mother were both wounded, after which the suspect fled the scene. His mother is hospitalized in a stable condition. The suspect has not yet been apprehended. Two fishermen who live in Nakeri, Suriname, have been arrested in connection with the discovery of a handgun and ammunition on the number 63 beach, Quarantine. Police say the men were arrested on Wednesday for the alleged possession of the 9mm semi-automatic pistol and 11 9mm rounds. They are 46 years old and 37 years old. The Guyana Police Force says the operation was based on intelligence at the number 63 beach. Investigators did not say if the gun and ammunition were found in the possession of one of the men, in a boat or a vehicle, or near them. And over now to regional news. The Surinamese government has decided to increase the social benefits from March. Waterkant News reports that the old age pension has been increased from $47.50 to $59.38. People with disabilities will now receive $83.13 instead of $35.63. In addition, support for poor households has increased from $47.50 to $59.38. These monthly payments are more than inflation and are reportedly part of the economic recovery program. The social safety net came into effect in 2020 with certain benefits increased by more than 100 despite budgetary constraints. The government says it will soon pass legislation for recipients to open basic bank accounts to receive the payments. The Ministry of Social Affairs will provide information to inform the needy about the various facilities and how to register for the necessary support. Efforts will be made to raise awareness through various social media channels. More than 60 Barbadian students are now awaiting the final word for their 2020 Cape and Caribbean Examinations Council CXC results. This after Barbados Court of Appeal heard final submissions from attorneys for both sides and reserved its decision in the case. Lawyers in Barbados had requested a judicial review of the controversial 2020 results, seeking leave to appeal the substantive decision by a judge in the High Court last year. Lead attorney Liesl Weeks told the Weekend Nation that she would be willing to go as far as the Caribbean Court of Justice to get a final word on the issues. Almost 150 workers of Scotiabank in Trinidad are to lose their jobs. As we hear from CNC3, the bank is shifting some operations to the Dominican Republic.
From our perspective right now, what we see is that prices will remain elevated.
149 employees of Scotiabank T&T will lose their jobs between March to May in 2022. This as the bank will be closing down its collections unit in Trinidad and Tobago and will be moving it to the Dominican Republic. Guardian Media has seen letters sent to members of its staff in which the bank says it is closing its collections department and sending home all frontline members of staff and support, including managers. This is one of the largest retrenchment that has taken place at the bank recently and comes as Scotiabank and other financial institutions rationalize to become competitive. In an email response, the bank confirms that the upcoming changes will be in certain services. Upcoming changes will result in the consolidation of certain support services and back-end functions. including the consolidation of a part of our collections unit into a global business services hub in the Dominican Republic, which also currently services our Canadian operation, Scotia says. The bank adds that it will ensure all employees are treated fairly and with respect as they transition employment.
That report from CNC3. Grenada's Integrity Commission says its investigation into the operations of Carriacou and Petite Martinique Festivals Board has not uncovered any corruption. The Commission's probe had been based on a complaint by social activist Valerie Thompson about the constitutions of the Festivals Board, its operation, possible conflict of interest, and insider trading. According to the Integrity Commission, following the gathering and analysis of primary and secondary data, the Commission concluded that the issues raised by the complainant did not constitute corrupt practices as defined by Grenada's Prevention of Corruption Act. But the Commission took the opportunity to address the importance of operational transparency and issued several recommendations for the board's operational improvement. The Integrity Commission is recommending that the law be amended to incorporate the Petite Martinique Regatta as a national festival. Other recommendations include ensuring that persons in public life refrain from the appointment of close relatives to public bodies as far as possible or feasible, as well as apply conflict of interest management principles. These include recusal from meetings by persons who stand to benefit from decisions under consideration by the board. The Commission has also undertaken, in keeping with its mandate, to provide guidance and training to the Festivals Board on the establishment of a conflict of interest management policy and implementation of other operational procedures and protocols to ensure that public trust and confidence are always preserved and enhanced. In Antigua and Barbuda, the opposition United Progressive Party, UPP, is defending its decision to launch its election campaign. The launch has been held even though a date for the next general election has not been announced. From all indications, the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party-led administration by Prime Minister Gaston Browne will call early general elections. Antigua Newsroom reports that UPP leader Harold Lovell says the launch of his party's election campaign takes 3 scenarios into account.
Our campaign has been designed in a very clear way, so that if the election is called in 21 days' time, we're nimble enough that we can be there in 21 days. If it's in 6 months, it means that we would have had enough time to do even more than we would have done in the 21 days. And of course, if it goes the distance, we are comfortable with that because it gives us more time to dig down, double down, and to meet the electorate. So any of the options that we are faced with, we're very comfortable to meet those options.
The leader of the Antigua and Barbuda's opposition United Progressive Party, Harold Lovell. And now for the international news, here's the latest bulletin coming from the BBC World Service.
Hello, I'm David Harper with the BBC News. The Russian President Vladimir Putin has told his French counterpart that the United States and NATO failed to address his main security concerns in their proposals to ease tension over Ukraine. According to the Kremlin, Mr. Putin said his requests to halt NATO expansion and the deployment of strike weapons near Russia were ignored. The Russian leader spoke to Emmanuel Macron by phone for over an hour as diplomacy continues over Moscow's troop buildup near Ukraine. Sweden's defence minister Peter Hultqvist told the BBC that Russia itself was the source of the current confrontation.
There is no threat from NATO and any of the democratic European countries against Russia. They have never been any threat. And I think it's very important to be very clear to the Russians that they are responsible for the crisis. They are the reasons why we have this situation.
A British government agency has issued a public warning to the country's businesses and organisations to boost their cybersecurity because of fears of Russian hacking attacks. The National Cybersecurity Centre said its alert was in response to recent malicious incidents in and around Ukraine. More from our security correspondent, Gordon Carrera.
I understand that in both the US and the UK, the cybersecurity authorities have been talking to critical infrastructure providers. That is power stations, water, transport, saying make sure you are as secure as you can be, particularly against these kinds of attacks which have been used by the Russians in the past. We should say, of course, Russia has denied involvement in any of these cyber attacks and said that they weren't responsible.
The UN World Food Programme says more than 80% of people in the Ethiopian region of Tigray don't have enough to eat. It says no UN food convoy has reached the area since the middle of last month. 100 trucks a day are needed to prevent starvation. Aid agencies have been facing severe challenges delivering supplies to the northern regions, where government forces have been fighting Tigrayan rebels for more than a year. Thompson Peary is a WFP spokesman.
Severe hunger is tightening its grip on northern Ethiopia. After 15 months of conflict, almost 40% of Tigrayans are suffering an extreme lack of food. Meanwhile, across all three conflict-affected regions of the north, an estimated 9 million people are in need of humanitarian food assistance, the highest number yet.
Diplomatic sources have confirmed that the West African regional body ECOWAS has suspended Burkina Faso's membership following a military coup earlier this week. On Thursday evening, the new military ruler, Paul-Henri Sunda-Ugo Damiba, said Burkina Faso needed its international partners more than ever. ECOWAS has already condemned the coup. World news from the BBC. A rights organisation has criticised a decision to allow North Korea to chair a key UN disarmament committee focused on preventing nuclear proliferation. The group, UN Watch, said it was wrong to put Pyongyang in charge while it was still being sanctioned by the UN for its own nuclear weapons programmes. It wants countries to refuse to send their ambassadors to meetings during North Korea's 4-week tenure. The French economy grew at its fastest rate for over half a century last year, rebounding from a slump in 2020 caused by the pandemic. Growth reached 7%, exceeding analyst expectations. But in Germany, the Eurozone's biggest economy, the picture was gloomier. Global supply chain problems affected its large manufacturing sector. The economy contracted by 0.7% in the last quarter. British police have released a statement that's cast doubt on when a report can be published into parties at Downing Street that allegedly broke lockdown rules. It was expected this week. The police have asked the civil servant writing the document to make minimal reference to the events they're examining to avoid prejudicing their investigation. The report will look into accusations that have led opposition parties to demand the resignation of the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson. Here's our political correspondent, Rob Watson.
I think the only way you could sum up where we are is in a total mess and shambles. It probably plays to Boris Johnson's advantage. Why? Because whatever happens, it looks like a delay. And I think all along Boris Johnson has been playing for time, hoping that the longer this goes on, that the higher the chances that MPs, the media, the country moves on and starts thinking about something other than Partygate.
The Russian tennis player Daniil Medvedev is through to the final of the Australian Open for the second year in a row. He beat Stefanos Tsitsipas of Greece by 3-1 in the semi-final. Medvedev will now play Rafael Nadal on Sunday. That's the latest BBC News.
And now to end the news, here's a recap of the leads. Guyanese will soon get a $2,000 bill to spend. In the face of a call by the United States, the government has sought to assure Guyanese that it does not condone corruption. A New York-based Guyanese man has been charged with corporate fraud. A man has been arrested in connection with a 5-kilogram marijuana bust at a police roadblock. And on the regional scene, Scotiabank in Trinidad and Tobago will be laying off more than 100 workers. More than 60 Barbadian students are now awaiting the final word on their 2020 Cape and Caribbean Examinations Council CXC results. And that's the end of the news.
This has been the news compiled in the Newstalk Radio newsroom. For ongoing updates, visit demerarawaves.com, and you can check facebook.com/demwaves and twitter.com/demwaves.